Hello traders and welcome to the weekly outlook and setups volume 108. It's Iliya here, and as always I'm super happy to have you on my YouTube channel. And as you probably know, in this video we're gonna have a look at the market, how it developed this week, what opportunities did we have, and what we can potentially expect for the upcoming week. So if you remember from the previous outlook, I promised to do a Friday video, but I had no inspiration to do it because I had a nasty losing week. Right? Well, it's not that nasty. I just lost 2% because on Friday I took a very nice trade. But yes, in this video I'm gonna pay attention to all of those losses, what I learned from them, and so that you can see that a losing week is perfectly fine, and sometimes you just get things wrong. So that is all okay, right? So I'm quite excited to share that with you. If you're new to this channel, it's all about trading. I share this weekly outlook and setups every Saturday, and once per week I share an educational piece of content or a trade setups breakdown video. So make sure you're subscribed, hit the notification bell in order not to miss any updates that I post. And before we start, I want to mention that I've been trading some cryptos, and I do it with Forex.com. It's an amazing broker with low spreads, and they have a low commission account as well. But if you pick the eco account, every lot traded goes towards planting 10 trees. So I think this is an amazing initiative. So make sure to check them out. Link will be down in the description. Open an eco account and let's support nature. And if you already did, let's see what do we have for this week. Alright, as always, starting with a Dixie, our best friend, in order to determine where potentially the dollar could go, which will give us a nice indication on what to expect for the other currency pairs as well. So very nice thing that I want to point out is right now that we're having an inside bar. So we had a beautiful bullish week this week, but still, if you have a look at the previous weekly low, let me mark it with lines. There is our previous weekly low and there is our previous weekly high. As you can see, the market was contained perfectly inside this range. And usually what does an inside bar do? We can expect a pullback. After an inside bar is formed, especially on such a high time frame, we can expect next week the market to either break out to the upside or to the downside. Okay. How do we usually determine where it's going to break out? Well, by judging the direction of the market. And according to me, the DXY is bullish. So since we failed to make a new lower low of the structure, like we had this pullback, lower high, this should have been a lower low, but it failed. So we created this sort of shift right here. Then we massively expanded to the upside, breaking structure on the left. And what I was expecting is to have a little bit of a pullback to the downside. But as you can see, the market accumulated for 3 weeks. So for 3 weeks right there, we stayed at the top. And right now it looks like the market has gathered all the orders, has gathered the liquidity, and maybe we are ready to pump up and to potentially even create a new higher high. Okay, so those are my expectations actually. I am calling a bullish dollar. But as you can see on the daily, like, yeah, I would have really loved to see a pullback, because you can see like this is where our move started. Like we can even take it from the low, but I'm going to take it from here, and the current high is right there. So the market hasn't even pulled back to any Fibonacci levels. Okay, so this is not really nice, but as you can see, it starts to build up new structure inside this range, and currently we are in this range. So definitely a nice breakout will be really nice. And to be extremely honest, we had beautiful price action this week in terms of market structure. Let me break it down very quickly for you. So if you remember from my previous outlook, I said that this is our 4-hourly low. And as long as the market remains above, I am bullish. Okay, if I see a candle close below this level, that's only when I'm gonna change. Okay, and basically we have this demand right here. So what the market did actually is it confused us a little bit, because it created this push to the downside that broke structure, then created this lower high. Okay, and then we started pumping to the downside. And basically this creates a little bit of a downtrend, but this is still an impulse correction for a potential impulse. Okay, this is not a downtrend yet. As I told you, a downtrend will be if we actually break below this level. So what the market did, it actually on market open, it gave us a little bit of a pullback. It gave us a lower high. Can we sell from here? Yes, we can. Okay. But then as you can see, what the market did, it created the MSS formation. If you haven't studied the free course, make sure to do so. It's down in the description. It will really unlock your market structure skills. So basically this was the failure to make a new lower low. And then we very nicely expanded into the upside. Okay. Breaking all the structures on the left. And then of course we pulled back. We created a nice higher low base right here. And right now the market is attempting to push up, but in a very kind of sloppy manner. Okay, so this is where the market currently is, between the high and between the low. So currently, Our task is to identify our structural points. So for me, there is my major higher low right now, and potentially the higher high is right here. And so right now the market is stuck inside this range. Usually what I would expect is, if you have a look at the weekly candle, usually have a look, we have a massive pump into the highs and then the next candle opens with a wick down. Well, no, this is not a perfect example. I would like to see such a wick. So basically how I imagine this week to go, the market will open right here. We will start with a little bit of a bearishness to potentially pull back somewhere, and then potentially I would expect a bullish week, and so the weekly candle will look something like this. Come on. Okay, yeah, this should be a wick down, right? But yes, I would expect the market to open with a wick to the downside and then to potentially start expanding up. Okay, so this is my analysis on the DXY, and if I expect that pullback, then potentially I'm gonna be looking for the market to pull back anywhere. What is happening with my drawing today? Anywhere inside this level right here to create a higher low, to shift the structure, and then to potentially impulse into the highs. If I drop on the hourly time frame, there is our perfect level right here. So basically I will be looking for the market to pull back to take some of those levels right there, because right now people are looking at trend lines. So potentially we can react from the trend line, we can create an MSS formation, then we can drop to the downside to create the higher low on the hourly, and then to potentially impulse into the highs. So let's see if you're gonna have a bullish week on the DXY. All right, let's have a look at Euro USD. So as you can see, the difference between EU and the DXY is that actually right here we do not have that inside bar. The market actually faked below the previous weekly low. Okay, so that is kind of important, because once you have different things happening on EU and the DXY, that means that something is cooking. Okay, so basically this right here is our monthly low. If I go to the monthly, you can see that we have a push, higher high, higher low, cool, a failure to make a new higher high. So basically this right here is our shift. So right now my expectation is to actually have a break of that area after a failure to create a new higher high. So basically, as you can see, I am also bearish on EU. Well, not also, but I'm bearish on EU and bullish on the DXY, which actually makes perfect sense. So on the daily time frame, well, basically the market this week was reacting from this little demand right here. And as you can see, we first tapped inside, we reacted, we tapped inside again, we reacted, but the market is just creating bearish structure. And guess what your guy did? He was mainly taking longs, right? Yes, if we just briefly break down the structure right here. So again, as you can see, the market tapped inside. It gave us this kind of complex correction right there. And the market was looking long, didn't it? Like we had a nice push that broke structure on the left, pullback, higher low, higher high, beautiful. So the market was reacting from this wick right there. But of course, a great confirmation for me would have been to actually see a break above that wick. Okay, but the market just created that pullback. It gave us some longs right there, then pulled back, created the MSS formation, and then we just massively dropped to the downside, creating a new lower low. Perfectly bearish. Okay, then we actually had I think it was Wednesday, creating a big pullback. Then on Thursday we created this kind of range, we manipulated above the range, then we dropped to the downside, and then Friday ended up with a consolidation. So right now, again, as you can see, the market is exactly in the middle. So it's cooking for something, preferably a little pullback and then a dump to the downside. So let me jump into some of my trades. Well, not some, I'm gonna show you all of my trades right now. Possibly it's gonna take some time, so bear with me. So let's start with Monday. So, come on, man. So on Monday, let's see. On Monday again, I was looking for longs first. Okay, Monday was a pretty bad day because I hesitated also on a lot of setups. So as I told you, we had a push, a pullback, higher low formation, higher high. I was looking to buy it from here, targeting a new higher high, and but I failed to buy from here, and then I actually took a short. So this week was pretty messy for me. Like I was completely out of the zone, but of course that happens, guys. Okay. So basically in the morning, we had the Asian range. I was looking to take longs from this area to potentially target a new higher high. But what I was also observing from the creation of the Asian high, because this is actually the Asian high right there, it actually shifted the structure. So we have this high, we had a massive pump to the downside, then the market created all of that structure, created a beautiful buy, then we sold off to the downside, broke structure, and we continued trending to the downside. So why I didn't execute on a short right here was that I was afraid that the market is going to continue to create a new higher high and then to potentially even break above the Friday's high, because usually the daily highs and lows are areas of liquidity. So what I was expecting to happen on EU was to have something like this. Okay, so in the morning, I always mention to my students all of my key levels and we execute together. But on Monday, I failed to execute from any of my levels that I showed. Okay, so basically there was my first level right here. I'm not gonna go into details of why I picked those levels, but there's my first trade. So a little bit prematurely, I executed from here, stop loss was below, and yes, it just slowed down for a little bit, then took me out. And then of course the level still remains valid, but I failed to adapt to the market and to continue following the structure, because as you can see, like we had a low, we had a lower high, cool, the market created the MSS, we pushed to the upside, pullback, this is our higher low formation. Beautiful long entry that some of my team took, of course, but I missed out on this one. Cool, that's fine. Okay, oops, I deleted everything. And then of course, as the market is traveling towards my area, you can continue taking long. So there is another kind of push, higher high, higher low formation, creation of a higher high, higher high, higher high. And this basically creates a little bit of liquidity to drop to the downside and to then massively impulse to the upside. And then here is me actually at my level. I hesitated to take this one, and although I could have had a 2.5 pips above the Friday high just to be secure, I did not execute on this one, and I waited for the market to actually shift. So as the market shifted, that's when I looked for the lower high formation to pull me back inside this level, but the market never pulled back, so I didn't get my short. And then of course the market went into my targets down there. So this would have been a lovely trade right here that I didn't execute on. And yes, then I wanted to take a long from here, because this is again another level that I spot on the left, but I hesitate because the market looks extremely bearish right now, and I'm cool. I don't want to go against the trend. I want to wait for the market shift. Okay, so I do not take a long trade from here, which would have been kind of slightly aggressive, but it's fine, right? And what I do is after I see the market actually shifting and breaking 5-minute structure, then I say, cool, I'm gonna take a hedge, and I would love to see a little bit of a pullback, then to potentially take a long. Okay, so I find my zone right here, I take my short trade, it kind of gave me a little bit of a reaction, and then it stopped me out. Okay, so I didn't have that pullback. So basically this is 2 losses for the day. And then of course I failed to flow with the market and to follow some beautiful bullish structure. Okay, so that was Monday. I risk 1% per trade, half percent per trade. So I was down 1% for that day. Cool, perfectly fine. Monday we had amazing opportunities, but of course I hesitated on some of them and failed to execute. So let's see what happens on Tuesday. Tuesday really beat me up, man. It just slapped me really bad in the face. So again, myself, I still think that the market is gonna go up. So basically I got the 4-hourly direction wrong. Okay, to me, like we have this push, pullback, higher high, higher low, and I was still expecting the market to break above the previous weekly highs. Okay, so I think I got 2 merits on that long bias of mine. But yeah, basically the levels that I had are 2 again. We have kind of Asian session a little bit trending right here. Then we had a sharp manipulation to the downside. So this is where I start taking my first longs. So let me show you the 1 minute. So basically again, I have my levels, not gonna go into detail. There's so much more that goes in between. I break down all of my kind of analysis every single morning before London Open, my private community. So make sure that you check this out. And yes, there is my first trade for Tuesday. Like we had this sort of very nice range. We manipulate to the downside into my level. There is my first trade. And I also keep a really big stop loss on this one just to be safe. And then we have kind of the market reacting. He started to shift structure. Then we have this push to the upside that kind of failed to comply with this kind of lower high. But again, I failed to stick to my own rules, because again, if you've covered my free market structure course, you know that in order for a structure to be broken, we need the body close above. Okay, do we have a body close above this level right here? Nope. And what your guy does is he considers that this is a push to the upside. So right now I'm looking for a higher low to potentially continue with the trend up. So I take a scale in, rather kind of impulsive from my side. I take a scale in, and this one is still running. I didn't go break even. And yes, this one stopped me out, and then this one stopped me out as well. So this is another 1% loss. Okay, so I'm down 2% right now. Next level, of course, on the left, this is the extreme possibility that I would expect the market to play out. So I execute another long trade from here. And again, a very big stop loss. Usually I don't do these things. I don't use 8 pips. Usually my stop losses are always between 2 and 5 max. Okay, but this was 8. Okay, so I execute from here. And again, I failed to stick to my own rules. Again, there are some weeks that are really gonna slap you in the face and tell you, hey man, you're getting away from your rules. Okay, you have a lower low, lower high, beautiful. Lower low, cool. Take your aggressive entry, but see how the market develops. Okay, where is your major lower high? It's right there. Did the market break it? No. This is a beautiful short to take with the overall momentum that goes to the downside, but your guy is taking the long. Okay, And yes, then I went out of off of the charts. My stop loss was below. I came to the charts around right here. So as I was seeing the market perfectly making a downtrend, I'm like, man. And I cut half of my risk in order to minimize the loss. I cut half of my risk somewhere right there. We're gonna see this on my MT4 stats as well. But then what I see is the market kind of manipulating below right here, and it starts to change the structure. Okay, then it manipulates down nicely to the downside, creates this long opportunity right there, and then again it starts to impulse up. Okay, so I'm like, okay, I will try another long. Okay, still marrying that long position instead of looking for the shorts, and instead of looking at this lower high, lower low, beautiful lower high with a nice range, nice expansion to the downside that also created a lower low. So basically, I took another long from right here. Okay, I think the stats were already shared. Creation of a higher high, I was expecting this to be a higher low again, gave me a reaction, pullback, another reaction, but then it slapped me to the downside. And then of course I was already down, what am I down, 1.5% or something for the day. And then I failed to acknowledge that the market is just bearish, so I missed this beautiful short, okay? And yes, this is my Tuesday, guys. So again, I am down, I think around 3 and something percent for this week right now. Then we go on to Wednesday, which was another pretty bad day. Well, not pretty bad, but well, my trading. Guys, TradingView just bailed on me from all of those bad trades. It just doesn't want to show my price anymore. All right, so there is the Tuesday. So I was trying to long the market from right here. Then we had this massive short to the downside, and right now we are into demand. So I'm like, cool, we should go long right now. And of course we went long, but guess what? Your guy did not execute properly. So if I quickly drop to the 1 minute, no, don't bail on me again, TradingView. Yes, so, oh, come on, man, so slow. So yes, we had this sort of price right here. So it was pretty tricky. The Asian low is right here, which created kind of the daily low. And since then we created a nice uptrend. So usually when you see the Asian session is trending a lot, that means that during London or Frankfurt, you're going to have a sharp pullback to the downside to take some sort of liquidity right there. And then the market is usually going to continue. Okay. So what I did is I was just spectating right here. So again, you can see like we have some fun stuff happening right here. We had a drop to the downside, then we have a push to the upside. I didn't take any longs right here. Then we had another massive drop to the downside. I'm like, cool, this should be the manipulation right now. And then we had a massive expansion to the upside that also broke structure, created a new higher high. So I'm like, cool, okay, that looks fine. So what I do is I just spot the potential level for an entry, which for me is this one, which is the most recent higher low. You can see again, push, pullback, sell, big buy right here. So we broke structure to the upside. So this is my higher low. So I execute from right here. And of course, guess what? Another stop loss. So I am deep around 3.5 or 4% loss for this week. And then the market dropped even further. And then I started observing it, but it was looking way too sloppy. Right, so I didn't want to enter any longs right here. And of course, sometimes the market is just not perfect. You have to still read because the market still continues to create breaks and retests, okay? But I didn't execute from there, and then of course the market continued to push up, higher high, higher low, beautiful. And then you miss out on all of those trades. So a great tip that I can give you guys right now is if you see yourself getting stopped out at first, don't give up, okay? There is a fine line between over trading and following your plan, okay? Because yes, you can kind of take the loss, you can enter again. No, if you still wait for your rules to develop, then make sure to strike. Don't give up too soon, but of course don't go on a rampage to try to bring that win back, okay? But my problem actually is the other side. I do not continue looking at my charts to look for opportunities, but I just take the loss and I'm kind of cool. Let's wait maybe for the next session. But then you can see the market gives you a beautiful long that would have resulted in a massive risk to reward. Okay, so basically this is my Wednesday. Okay, took the loss, the market continued to go up, and yes, then we go on to Thursday. Guess what? Do you think that I took a win on Thursday or a loss, knowing how my week was going? Okay, you probably got that right. So going on to Thursday, this is the level that I was looking at. This is where the market will last sold off to the downside. So this is where I wanted to look for sells. Okay, so beautiful Asian range right there, nice consolidation. While the market does, it manipulates very nicely around Frankfurt. Then we strongly push to the downside and we break minor structure. So my little mistake right here was that this was my major higher low. Okay, We had a little push, a little pullback, then a massive push, all the rejections right there to potentially take short opportunities, but I didn't execute from here, which is another mistake. And then as the market broke to the downside, I considered cool. This is my momentum shift. So then I went to the 1 minute. And basically there was a beautiful opportunity exactly right here inside this range. Like you can see, the market kind of consolidated, created, again, make sure to watch my supply and demand video because this is a great explanation of this range. The market manipulates lower, breaks structure, pulls back, and gives you a beautiful short. I didn't execute on this one because it was not like completely according to my rules. But then as we had this structure break to the downside, and I was looking to take into the lower high. So there's my next trade right here, executing from this double top right here. So took the trade from right there, reacted again, and then bang. Stop loss. Cool. And then again, another little mistake. So that was my biggest lesson for this week. I failed to adapt. So again, the market kind of shifts the structure, creates a lower low, pulls back. There's your lower high. Take a trade from right there. Very simple. Stop loss above. And then enjoy your return on your losses. Okay. If you ride it to the downside, I think this was my target right there. Something on the left. That would have been a 12-hour trade. Cool. That's it. Okay. Take the loss. Take the next trade. You're good. And basically I'm sitting at around 4.5% loss, and then comes Friday, my savior. So again, I'm looking for longs on Friday. This is my extreme, this is my in the middle. So what I was observing again is Asian range, manipulation below the Asian range, and then again, I observed the structure. Although in a very slacky manner, we start shifting the structure to the upside. And then again, I can see that manipulation down, the market pushes up, creates a higher high, also closes above the structure. Again, I follow my plan. And then it pulls back to create a potentially higher low. So I execute my trade from here. Gave me some nice reactions, but still failed to follow through to the upside and manipulated to the downside. And of course, my next opportunity came in from my previous level of demand. And I executed from right here, stop loss below. And yes, this was my only winning trade for this week, guys. Okay, so what I did is I managed it. I took some partials right here at the Asian high. My next partials was right there. And my last partials were right there. Okay, everything on the left. And why I was so aggressive with taking partials and profits was because this was a reversal trade as well. The market is going down, so we created a lower high and then we created a massive lower low. So this is how I end up this week, and basically this trade brought me around, I think, 2 and something percent with partials. It is a 6-hour trade, but I took like 2 and something percent. So basically I finished my week with around -2 or something. And trading with frozen me again. Come on, man. Right, so basically I am short bias on Euro USD as I'm long bias on the DXY. But again, the question is, how are we going to open and how are we going to develop? There are some key levels to look for. So for example, right now the market is really nicely ranging inside that big range, okay? So the market pushed to the downside, lower low, lower high. Is this the lower high in order to continue down? We shall see. But right now the market is just stuck inside this range, which is also really good. So what I would expect is to have some sort of manipulation on market opening, lower high, and then to potentially continue down, okay? So as always, make sure to stay true to my Tuesday analysis on Telegram, where I'm going to give you some updates on how the market is developing and what potentially we're going to take. But yes, this is my outlook for EU, potential short. Let's have a quick look at EJ. So we're having another bearish week on this one. So for 3 consecutive weeks, we've been creating bearish price action. So definitely some sort of a pullback should occur. If we drop to the daily time frame to further have a look at the structure, right now our lower high is right there. The market has failed to make a very clear lower low. Again, we don't have a body close below. And right now we are sitting at the low. So basically, if you still consider this range from the high to the low, drop your fib, okay, and always wait for at least a 50% pullback, which you can see that we don't have right now. So basically on EJ, similar to EU, I would expect the market to open a little bit bullish, to come somewhere inside those levels, and then here I'm going to be looking for the reversal signal, okay, for a potential lower high. As for some sort of a level, I do not see a very clear level. Potentially, yes, I would love to see the market come into this kind of range. This is the extreme range, okay, this is the 4-hourly level right here. But of course, any pullback is welcome, which is above the 50%. So if you start seeing the market actually shifting a little bit, right here, feel free to take longs. If you have a break of structure above this one, feel free to take longs in order to take the market into the highs. And then potentially on Tuesday or Wednesday, we can see if the market will adapt and then have some shorts. So short bias on EJ as well. Alright, let's have a look at the Aussies. As you can see on AU, we're having another bearish week, which is pretty nice. We also closed below the previous weekly low, which is also a great indication for bearishness. So definitely this market will be continuing down towards this little range and towards creating some sort of a monthly higher low, because you can see we have a push, pullback, then a nice push to the upside. So potentially right now we're having a little pullback to eventually continue trading higher. Right now the question is, where do we take an entry from? So as you can see on the daily, we're perfectly bearish as well, respecting the lower highs. This is the last respected level right here. Then we broke to the downside, created another one, kind of really ranging right here, and then we dropped to the downside, broke structure. So basically, technically right now, this should be our lower high. So then dropping onto the 4-hourly time frame, yes, there is that big impulse to the highs. We broke to the downside, lower high, lower low right there. So this week we actually had some nice opportunities on AU. On the hourly time frame, like we had this nice pullback into the highs, into this level. Then we shifted the structure on the hourly. So there is our break of structure. There is our lower high reacting from a supply area, and then we had a massive sell-off. Have a look at all of those wicks right here. All of those wicks are entries. So your homework right now is go and identify on the lower time frames how you can get in for shorts right there, because it was literally beautiful. But yes, what I would expect right now is, of course, as I marked, this is my major lower high, and even I can move it a little bit like this on the 4-hourly time frame. There it is. And right now the market is in a strong impulse phase to the downside. So what I would love to see is to have like a little reversal, then a potential push to the upside, then the creation of a lower high, a shift of structure, and then potentially to continue with the sell bias. But first of all, we are going to need that bullish pullback. So on all the pairs, on all USD pairs, we are in a need of a pullback. You're going to see again a recurring theme. So yes, on Aussie dollar, major lower high right there, looking for a pullback on the 4-hourly. And if you start seeing a shift on the hourly time frame, like a nice bullish price action build up, then you can of course start taking longs, because you can see like you can even trade the pullback. Okay, so those are my expectations on the Aussies. Bearish, and of course AJ, exactly the same. We had a massive drop to the downside right there. We have a nice pullback, the creation of a lower high. Although slightly tricky because we were in a complex correction. We broke this high right there, which means that this is a high. Then we strongly pulled back, actually still haven't broken below this low. But then of course we created this big base of a lower high formation, which actually showed us that the market fails to break higher, and there were some potential shorts to be taken from right here. And then we just sharply started to impulse to the downside. Okay, so exactly the same story right here. I would say that this whole range right here is my demand or base or lower high, whatever you like to call it. So what I'm going to be looking for is for the market to start shifting again up, to pull back towards that area, and then to potentially see my short patterns. Okay, very, very, very simple, and potentially looking for getting the market into this big weekly demand right there. So let's see how the week is going to open. Keep in mind that we also have a very little lower high right there, but I would love to set it a little bit higher. Okay, so I will be looking for this level, but of course, depending on how the market will react, we can of course have to adapt. Okay, so make sure to stay tuned again for the Tuesday analysis, but overall shorts on the Aussies. The NZDs were quite tricky this week because we had some major news from Royal Bank New Zealand. So let's see. And as you can see, yes, we have a big indecision candle right there on the weekly time frame. Making our way down to the daily, you can see we're having a big consolidation right there. So yes, eventually I am expecting this market to go down together with the Aussies. But this week it behaved really strangely right here. So basically I was expecting shorts from this level, okay, but we had numerous things that happened before that. Okay, and you can see like the market opened right here. We had a massive sell-off that looks like a lower, well, it is a lower low, basically. Then we have a little bit of a pullback, potential shorts right here, but then the market decides to explode, then pull back, give us another long, then get again into that level. Then again, we started shifting, then we pull back, but it's really hard to read. Potentially, you should drop to the hourly time frame because the hourly made a little bit more sense. But yes, a lot of moves, but again, at the end of the week, you can see that we closed exactly where we opened. So basically, yes. But still, what I'm happy to see is this lower high held. We had a lower low as well, which shows some bearish sentiment. But right now, the market is kind of stuck. Okay, so basically, our major levels is this lower high right here. And I would love to have a break below this structure right here. So for NZD, I would say do not rush into anything, because we're still consolidating, okay? What I want to see is for it to do its thing. Is it going to fake above before reversing down, or is it just going to break below, pull back, create a lower high, and then to potentially sell off? We shall see. Keeping in mind the hard time frame bias, which is bearish, I will be favoring shorts. But first of all, we really need to see some clear structure, because right now it's just up and down, up and down, up and down. Okay, so a nice break and a close below this level will be a nice indication. Then actually keeping in mind our 4-hourly high, which is this one. So let's see, the market can also pull back a little bit again to form some sort of a triple top, then shift, then provide us with its sells as well. So again, as always, as I say, flow with the market and let's see how it develops. NJ as well. The level that I called on this one was again this big level like this, because this is a whole lower high formation. Okay, so do not always take it like this, because usually it's a whole zone. This is your whole lower high and the market is supposed to pull back into this whole zone. Okay, and again, same thing happened right there. We started a little bit bullish, then we pulled back bearish, then we had a massive impulse into the highs, and then we had a push to the downside that also failed to make a new lower low. Basically, this is our, because you can see we start shifting again. Our high, higher low, higher high. So this is our higher low right now, and the market then failed to break below it, which means that we are right now in this sort of triangle. Okay, so yes, pretty tricky as you can see. But if we again mark our major structure, there is this one and there is this one, because if the market actually closes below this one, it will close below this one as well. But yes, waiting for some further development. Mark your swings. There is your swing high, there is your swing low. Right now the market is exactly in the middle. So to be extremely honest, I have no idea what to expect right now. So definitely I'm waiting for something to happen. Either pull back into the highs again to create my short setup, either start with a bearishness to close clearly below this level, then to wait for the pullback lower high and then to sell off. Eventually the outcome, of course, I am again inclining more towards sells, but imagine that the market pulls back right there, fails to make a new lower low, and then starts shifting up. So at that moment on, we shall be looking for longs. But of course, there are the key levels. Let's see how the market is going to open and where we can position ourselves. UJ did some fun stuff this week. As you can see, very similar to the DXY, we're having an inside bar. So remember what I told you in the DXY about inside bars? We are to expect a potential breakout, okay? So I would favor more to the downside as well, just because I would expect the market to go down. But if you remember, we are bullish on the DXY, okay? So basically, let's see how this one is going to develop. On the daily time frame, where the market is currently reacting from is from this daily kind of demand, this daily higher low, okay? Because you can see from here, we impulse to the upside, we actually pull back, impulse, pull back, impulse. They were sharply tapped inside this area. We gave a nice reaction, then we tried to break lower, but this is the first sign for a potential shift, okay? So then dropping onto the 4-hourly time frame, if you remember, I was calling shorts from this whole range right here. So we actually got the short. At first we had this massive pump into the highs, pump into the lows, then again tried to reverse, but it actually never broke structure, I remember. Yeah, right here it broke structure, so maybe you could have been triggered inside shorts right here, but this was not already tapped into the level, so this is invalid. And then as we tap the level with this massive pump up, we just pull back for a higher low and then we massively impulsed up, okay? But then at the end of the day, we grabbed the liquidity right there during Asia and then we just plummeted to the downside, okay? So right now it is really tricky because the market is again stuck inside a range. So basically we have a new, yes, I would love to again take a big zone like this. I always love taking big zones like that. So there is our supply right now. And from the downside, as I told you, we're kind of shifting right now. Okay. So basically if I delete everything, my major zone is this one. Yes, definitely that one. Why? Because again, if we clearly follow up structure, we had a low, a lower high. Cool. After this lower high, we should have continued to break to the downside, but the market created an MSS formation right here. We sharply impulsed to the highs and the broke structure. Okay. So still this can be a complex correction for the market to drop down. Okay. But let's see. We never know. Again, you never know what's going to happen in the market. You just have to be reactive most of the times. So let's see, guys. Let's see. Basically, this is our low right now, and this is our major high right there. I am curious to see how UJ is going to develop. We can start with a little sell-off right there to form a higher low, and then potentially we can start impulsing. And as we come inside this level, then this is too far away in time for me to judge, okay? Because the market can form in numerous ways. Me, as a day trader, I only care what's going to happen today. Okay, so I cannot say what's going to happen for a whole week. And I do believe it's kind of, I don't want to say impossible, but you never know, like, for example, you never know how the market is going to develop perfectly. You never know. So it's really important to actually flow with the market, but this is my expectation on the DXY. I think we're seeing some signs for a potential reversal because we failed to make a new lower low. So basically this is our shift right there. So right now it's important to me is to continue seeing new higher lows being created and then potentially to actually close above this level right there. So let's see if the market is going to open with a little bearishness to create a higher low, then to potentially shift, to take some longs into that level, and then potentially re-evaluate and see how it's going to go from there. Let's have a look at the GBP starting from GU. As you can see, I think this could be an inside bar. No, it's not, because we actually faked above the previous weekly high, and that is actually then we triggered a massive sell reaction. Still haven't broken the weekly low, so I think definitely we are about to drop on GU. With the overall trend being down, the market actually consolidated right there for 3 weeks. It tried to do something, it tried to push up, rejected from the downside, it tried to push up, but we see that it just failed. And right now, potentially, we are heading lower. So as you can see, we had this massive pump to the downside. Then what I was also expecting is to have longs. Okay, so if you remember, I had the fib like this. So I said, guys, wait for the market to pull back below the 50% and then take the longs. So there were actually beautiful longs, but the market never made a higher high. So basically we printed this little supply right there. The market tapped inside, tried to react, and then as you can see, still the battle between supply and demand. We kind of tapped into the 50%. We tried to push up. Cool. We react from supply. Then we push down. We react from demand. We tried to push up, but we just created this big wick. And then the market reacts to the downside, pulls back, lower high formation. And right now we're headed to the downside. Okay. And potential targets will be, of course, these lows right there. So potentially I'm not going to break down any opportunities. Like my team is trading a lot of GU, but I'm mainly focused on EU right now. But yes, basically the last reaction was taken from right here. We had the team took beautiful shorts from right there, also from right here, also from right there as well. Yes, a massive push to the downside right now. So currently trying to drop to the lower time frames to kind of identify where was the potential last reaction, and it is this one. So this is basically kind of a 15-minute lower high. But what I would expect on GU is exactly the same as the other pairs. Okay, currently making this lower low, I would expect it to react from somewhere, to shift a little bit, to pull back, to create a lower high, and then to potentially start dropping lower. Okay, pretty similar to EU, but EU is currently kind of in a range, so definitely a nice sharp push to the upside at the beginning of the week will be really nice, and then to potentially see the sell-off. Okay, from the upside, we're clearly trending to the downside, so let's see. That is my outlook on GU. Looking forward to have some little pullback and then to potentially sell off. And of course, as the market finds the bottom, whenever it is, drop your premium and discount and then wait for the market to get into the highs. Then going on to GJ as well, another bearish week. Again, we started very bullish. We pull back, higher low formation, looks like a higher high, but then it just gets inside this big range right here. Then still, we pushed to the downside, we failed to break lower. Again, the battle between supply and demand, but then we again pull back and we basically reacted from this little newly created supply, and then we massively dropped to the downside. And since then, we've been trading really nicely to the downside. As you can see, there's your first short, massive pump down, second short, another pump down, third short on Friday, another pump to the downside. So basically GJ is also looking like shorts. Okay, so basically this was the last pullback. I struggle a little bit to identify the last lower high, so I'm going to take it like this big zone, because right now the market is actually breaking the structure to the downside, which is really good. So what I would expect is, again, same story, like the market to maybe shift a little bit, to pull back, lower high formation, and then potentially targeting the lows. Okay, so definitely GJ potentially also about to drop further. The weekly is an inside bar, as you can see, because this was a big wick right there, and right now we're inside. So right now we shall be expecting the breakout. And how do we determine the breakout? Well, with the overall trend, which is down. So definitely I do believe GJ is headed for 150, 500-ish. GA, I will be removing this pair from my watch list because I just have no idea what is happening on this pair. I think I was calling the market pulling back towards these levels right there to potentially take longs, but GA was just ranging. So to be extremely honest with you, I have no idea where this one is going. So definitely, guys, in the comments, where is GU headed? I think GA, sorry. I still think that like this sell, buy, pullback, higher low formation. This higher low formation hasn't been retested. And right now we're building all of this kind of trend line stuff right here. So definitely I would expect again a nice drop to the downside, and then from there maybe we can start looking for the longs. But right now it's just consolidating. So if it was for me, if I was trading this pair, I would step aside and wait for something clear. Euro GBP is another pair that I just don't look at all. Just have a look, man. Just have a, ooh, that gives me dizziness right there. But yes, overall we were in this big range, so the market cleared the sell side right there, then we started shifting up. Again, if you're careful, we have a break above this level. The market pulled back, respected the higher low, and right now we're actually having another higher high. So this is good that Euro GBP is turning bullish, because that means that GU is bearish. But of course, Euro GBP is a combination of EU and GU, which usually move together. But yes, currently I am looking at this market for longs. We just have a higher high, so therefore I'm going to be looking for the higher low formation somewhere right there, and then a potential expansion to the upside. Okay, so this week is pretty clear. Shorts on GJ, shorts on GEU. First of all, I will need to see a bullish pullback right here to create that weekly high. So again, if the weekly candle opens right here, I would expect the market to start with a wick, to pull back somewhere right there, again above that 50% mark, and then to potentially continue trading to the downside. Okay, because you can see almost all candles have wicks. If you expect bullishness, the market is going to open, it's going to pull back a little bit, and then it's going to expand. Bearish candle, little pullback, expand. Okay, so this is what I'm expecting, guys. Short bias on the GBPs, short on the euros as well. Let's see. Gold to me is really tricky right now. So basically we were trading in this flag lag formation. We tried to impulse to the upside, but I don't see the major weekly high was broken. So basically we're still stuck in this overall range. Then we had this massive drop to the downside, actually tapping into a demand level on the daily right there. Then we kind of react, consolidate, fake below, and then we start initiating this upside. Okay, so the biggest question is, are we having like a push pullback for a potential continuation, or are we just right now having the pullback to potentially continue lower? If the DXY is gonna get stronger, then the gold is gonna drop lower. So that is another question that we have to answer. But yes, this week we actually had a little pump to the upside. And right now, basically, if you try to determine your structure, it's this one. So currently we're retesting the higher low. So it's really important to actually identify where our most recent higher low is, because as long as we stay above, technically we should be bullish. Okay, so my question is, are we gonna have a successful retest right there, then to potentially pump into some of those levels and then to potentially drop down? If you're actually looking for the sells, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop my fib from the high to the low, and as you can see, we just kissed the 50%. We just kissed it, okay? But I would love to actually have another deeper spike into the highs and then to potentially start looking for the shorts. So guys, let me know what is your view on gold. Was this pullback enough in order for the market to continue lower? My approach will be to inspect the market inside right here, to drop to potentially hourly 15-minute to really see if we're gonna start building up some bullish price. Because you can see on the hourly, we actually started building the bearishness right there. Push to the downside, break of structure, lower high, lower low, break of structure, lower high, and then right now a lower low. So for me, in order to take any longs, it will be pretty important to see some sort of a bullish shift before I actually call this longs, all right? So let's see. Let's have a look at the indices. So we're having an overall kind of bearish week on US 30, but this bearish week happened on Friday. Again, as you can see, we just faked above the all-time highs. We just faked above them, and then we had a massive bearish engulfing candle. So basically what I was expecting is the market to kind of consolidate and then drop down, which I think it's still valid, okay? Only that we kind of created this little manipulation, and right now we're actually going to the downside. So for me, longs will be still valid from this previous level, because this is the major higher low. Okay, this is when we broke structure, the market consolidated, and right now we're starting to pull back towards it. Okay, so it's really important that the market actually stays above that level. But if we have a close below that level, then potentially we might expose the downside right there. So let's see. I'm pretty excited to see what's ahead of the indices, because they're kind of starting to shift a little bit. As you can see, NASDAQ, let me not delete anything, created this all-time high, first of all, consolidated, and right now is starting to change the structure, meaning that it turns a little bit to bearish, and this is currently our lower high. We also had another lower high, and right now we're pushing to the downside, okay? So for me, my major level right now is this one, right here. So let's see how the market is going to respond to it. And if we actually break below it with a body close below, then potentially this can also expose some of those lower unretested daily levels. And this will be lovely because we're going to have a little crash, which means more time to buy. As you can see, analysis on S&P was pretty good, but we just got into that level on Friday. So for me right now, the question is, are we going to hold? I will not be buying because again, this is just a very little pullback for me to buy, but definitely I think if you do invest, you can use dollar cost averaging. And again, according to what I do, my strategy is depending on the pullback, I am gonna invest like according to that pullback. So if I have a pullback of let's say 4% or 3%, I'm gonna put more money. But if I have a pullback of 1%, I'm gonna put less money. Okay, because the bigger the pullback, the bigger the reward will be. So right now, yes, we're dropping into the zone right there. So let's see. It kind of looks like it's shifting a little bit, but I will be monitoring very carefully how it reacts on this level, potentially put some money in, and let's see. It's kind of looking like the dollar is shifting a little bit. Indices start to fall a little bit. Euro dollar is looking like it's going to drop, and usually EU and US 30 are kind of positively correlated. So let's see, guys, a lot of exciting times are ahead of us. So I really hope you enjoyed this analysis. If you did, let me know down in the comments and make sure to hit the like button. I'm really gonna try my best to have my trades on a separate video in order for you to not watch like 45 minutes of me ramping, but I really hope you're enjoying it, guys. Let me know if you do. Throw me some suggestions down in the comments for future videos. And yes, I wish you a relaxing weekend. I wish you a really successful week. Stay tuned for the Tuesday Telegram analysis, and let's have an amazing one.